Last time on Muprov Musings, we began to tell the Giga story spine.
And yeah, I'm imagining that a little vampire child hears his parents talking. They're saying that Wilkes is like a difficult son to have because he can't like keep his head out of the clouds.
Okay, so to recap, Wilkes just did something very public and very embarrassing.
Yeah, for creative purposes.
For creative,
or like something that, and we should actually name it specifically because this is the type of thing that arcs into Tesuji. So what's something specifically that Wilkes could have been trying to do? Well,
ceremonial fangs lined up very, very neatly.
Yeah. Can it be dominoes? Can it be like they're fascinated by like the ceremonial fang, you know, and then it knocks, boom, like so they do some tiny thing and like the whole house falls down. Yeah.
My brain is stuck. I'm like transparent birds.
Yeah. Put him in.
The transparent bird that saw the witness the entire thing and the entire embarrassment, and it's like I don't know. Like maybe speaks exactly what Wilkes is worried about. Like, you don't fit in here, do you, or something like that's your question.
Yeah. And I think the bird should say somewhere that sounds just like beautiful, like paradise or something. Like the what is there the fairies cove or like somewhere where it's like a beautiful supernatural creature and it's like a beach or it's like a meadow or something, and that's where the bird is headed.
And this seems like a kind of running away style story where there might be at least to me instinctually this seems like there would be a chasing antagonist. Like what's a physical threshold that could be in this cave, either like going into the heart of it or going out of it or somewhere where you're
what if it's a thunderstorm going on outside and the bird is taking refuge in the cave and Wilkes is like, no, like let's go, like now, like I gotta leave here, and it's through the thunder and rain.
Into the storm.
And Anna, you have to name the bird. Anna, you have to name the bird right now, the first name that you say.
Worm.
Yes. Cool. And Anna, you're also going to be responsible for the first test allies and enemies scene. So we've now crossed the or actually, I think in crossing the threshold, there should be some sort of like get it fucked on moment, like a lightning bolt or something. Like I think they should go spinning out of this. I don't think it should just be like the first.
Yeah.
So they go spinning out of the sky from some sort of collision with something, and they land where, Anna?
In the clouds, actually. They sort of, I think maybe they sort of like wash up, like one of those, wash up on a cloud, and this is the domain of, I guess are very supernatural though.
Yeah,
whatever you
they
want.
are.
Yeah, okay. They wash up on the domain of the fairies, the fairyland. And the first people they meet are fairy scavengers who just, pick up what washes in with the tide, with the storms on the clouds. So I don't know, I guess first encounters that they're mistaken for, I don't know, some building material. So whatever washes up is used to build the castle, the fairy castle. So Wilkes wakes up. I guess it's not really a test. I don't know.
That's okay.
I don't know. But I'm definitely having a sense of like Wilkes is being carried unknowingly. Like they wake up and they are like being carried into the castle.
Are they separated from Worm at this point?
Good question. No, I don't think so.
I think Worm is like screaming. I think Wilkes is being carried. And Worm is like, "What are you doing? I'm not a block."
You're right. I agree with this. So I guess in that sense, like the first test happens inside the castle. Maybe Worm meets Worm and Wilkes meet the housekeeper or whatever, like the person who takes care of all the chief of staff of the castle.
Okay. I will stop you for 1 second. So you're telling me there's a scene, we land in the clouds, and what happens is 2 improvisers enter playing fairies who immediately say, "You are building materials," pick them up, and then walk off, and the scene ends.
No, this is a long setup. I'm building a world.
I think I would consider that part of crossing the threshold. I guess it's 2 scenes, and the final scene is.
Alternatively, they could be like maybe they have a conversation with whatever fairies found them.
Okay, so
whoever wakes them up, like is intending to carry them in as building material, but realizes they're not building material.
Okay, so we're not having the person who runs the housekeeping for the castle.
No, I think you're right. That as an improv show would be a little small.
Okay. Julian is signaling that we have hit the hour mark, which is the length of a normal Muprov Musing episode. It's okay. If you want to stop listening now, you have our permission.
But why would you want to stop? Don't you want to know what happens to Wilkes and Worm?
Yeah. Some of the best podcasts are 8 hours. Wait. So carried as building material? I blanked the last second when Julian said the hour. What happens?
They have a conversation with the fairies, who want to bring them in as building material.
And what is the conversation like? Are the fairies opposed, or are they chill?
I think they're just curious. They're not enemies of any sort.
I would love for this is not a Tesuji. This is just a. My brain went to waffles. I don't know if that helps either of you guys. But what I mean by waffles is like some sort of food related thing in the scene where Wilkes gets to try a food, or the fairies have a food that they're eating, and the reason that my narrative brain went there might just be because I'm delirious. But I think that it was because there's something, trying something for the first time with these fairies. Because Wilkes has been in a place where they're not allowed to try stuff. So it doesn't have to be a food.
Yeah, trying.
So what's something that the fairies could like to do? Or what's something that could surprise the fairies about Wilkes once they realize you're not building material? Like, what the hell? You never see sunlight, or what the hell? You only eat blood, or like.
Because it's compelling me, right? How is Wilkes gonna be like out in the sun or whatever? But yeah, it could be like, oh, you never see sunlight, and Wilkes is like, well, yeah, because our skin would get effed up if I was in the sun. But the fairies are living in the clouds, so they probably also have some sort of sun protection that they can give to Wilkes. This is a device akin to the stand on 2 legs juice, but it's a way for the fairies to let Wilkes like bask in the sun for a moment.
Wait, I feel like we also may have strayed away from Anna's conception of the scene. I want to pop back into Anna world.
Back into Anna world. Anna world.
I can't believe you guys let me go unanswered. You guys can also do what I'm doing to you to me. Is something I want to say. And waffles is not the right move there. No one should have allowed that to stand.
Yeah. I think it's just because I'm trying to figure out like what is Wilkes going to be doing in this new world, because the conflict was just that he didn't fit into the old one.
Well, we're in the fun zone, so it doesn't really matter right now. But like we will hit some tests and stuff, but like the texture of their fairies, they're using you as building material. What's just some texture that could be in the scene? Assuming that there's no narrative purpose.
Let's have the Wilkes is not building material, but it turns out that vampires have teeth that grow at the speed of shark teeth, like very fast. Mm-hmm. So Wilkes can, let me think. Okay, maybe actually I'm having a moment where Wilkes like wakes up and is like the fairies are trying to like trundle him up, and so out of instinct he bites, and the fang comes out, but he just grows a new one. So there's a new material here, and it's vampire fang.
Oh, and that makes sense also with our giant teeth from earlier. Yeah. Not really. It doesn't make a ton of sense. But the vibe of these things is maybe they grow over time, even once they leave your body. I will flag, will this turn the fairy into a vampire?
Oh, no, that wasn't what I was thinking.
Okay, that's fine. They can just be bitten. I was just wondering about how that physics works. All right.
Yeah. So, and is it now fairy versus Wilkes, or is like it's probably resolve? Like I don't think Wilkes should like kill the fairies or anything, right?
No, they're like excited. They're like, whoa, they're this is excited. A great.
Yeah, they don't.
Oh,
they
they're
don't
tooth
really care.
fairies. They're freaking tooth fairies.
Yeah.
They're like, oh.
I think I just wanted like something that builds Wilkes' confidence that like he has something of value or he's like something cool, you know?
Yeah. He loses the tooth by biting them, and then they're like, oh, let's get that tooth somewhere.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So Wilkes is being shepherded into Fairy Kingdom by these people who are excited about this tooth. They're like, this is the craziest tooth we've ever seen. All right. Textured entrance. How the heck do you get into this castle? It has to be awesome. Of like, and like the bustling, like, how are you making that as improvisers? Has to be awesome and fast.
Yeah, awesome and fast.
Has to be faster than it is awesome.
I'm imagining a like spiral spinny little beam of light that brings you into the castle, like a tractor beam on a UFO. And yeah.
Can little fairies be applauding from below?
Yeah. And there can be a kind of like angelic or operatic, like as the beam comes down.
And how is this being done as improv?
Someone could well, when you're in the beam you're spinning and you're rising, and two fairy guards with very like high voices can announce like be clear, the rainbow beam is coming down.
Yeah.
And now, Wilkes is in the castle?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wilkes is in the castle, I guess, as a special guest or someone of interest to the king and queen of fairyland.
Oh, this is just trying to find a like game in the scene that's short form. But it would be funny if the tooth fairy queen like keeps on mixing up like the appointment that Wilkes is there for, and it's like, oh, you're here with my soup, I'm so glad, and then like Wilkes keeps on having to remind the fairy queen of like or probably the fairy that brought Wilkes is continuing to remind.
Okay, and I want a cut halfway through the scene of like this gamey scene to a villain. And then we're going to cut back into the game like seconds later. I mean, that'll be a fun thing to pick up on. But I want this villain to be someone who's high up in the kingdom, who's seeing the vampire teeth maybe as a building material or something, and is like, this person could lead us back to the vampires. We never, like, we've been, you know, some sort of clear plotting, maybe with a hench person of like, we must be nice to them and we must be careful.
So this is someone who wants to like wage war on the vampires or exploit the vampires in some way, or
exploit the vampires.
Because there's also the vampire
chasing
the
them.
Bats. There are also the bats chasing them, right?
Yeah, that might be too much. Okay, you're right. I'm with
But
it.
we can get to the bats.
Yeah, we can cut to the bats going after them.
Yeah.
I think if we're gonna cut to them, we actually should wait one more scene. And this is like a cool thing to learn as a listener of like, if you're gonna be chasing, if you chase one scene behind, you see the same obstacle 2 times in a row, which is not interesting. If you chase 2 or 3 scenes behind, it's funny now to see the evil bat interact with the fairy builders outside. I think
wait. Restate this in a way.
Right. Let's say you have someone who's chasing.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to go through the same obstacles, test allies, enemies that the person being chased is going
right, because they're lagging.
If you lag one scene behind, you basically see the same scene back to back.
Oh, you're saying,
which is less rewarding for the audience. So you want to lag 2 scenes behind or 3 scenes behind.
Okay. Yeah.
And if it is a chase thing, then this castle should be a stop. Right.
What do you mean by a stop?
This should not be the final destination.
Yes.
And I think that then it's important that this castle be lower down in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't the like awesome beach cloud land, you know? And I think then maybe the sunlight thing isn't actually an issue yet, because maybe we're in like, there are layers of clouds kind of going up.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. So game, and in that case, the game of this thing, I think, should have some sort of test ingrained in it. A test that goes well for the person. Where they make a friend with the queen, where they're able to help her find like something dumb.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking right now the queen is like super not focused and like, not able to like really keep the task on mind in her head. So I feel like Wilkes can like mind meld with the queen maybe, because they're both.
Well, maybe Wilkes has a focusing trick. Or Anna, what you want?
Oh yeah,
Anna,
I was just gonna say, it seems almost like the queen her head is 2 in the class, like even more than Wilkes's.
And that's a great foil. Like, yeah, that's awesome.
Right. So it's almost like, Wilkes is almost like, he's still a vampire, right? He still has some of that focus and that that groundedness, compared to at least the fairy queen. So maybe all it takes is just Wilkes. I don't know what's a fun way for Wilkes to manage the appointments.
Well, I like the focusing trick idea, and it could be like a vampire, just like this is what vampires say to do when we're about to eat our prey, and and we get the queen to do it.
We flap our wings and take deep breaths. We look at our prey. Woo, 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 woo. These are like things I do with my preschoolers.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. So we solved that test. Let's really rapid fire. What are 2 total random, like, next cloud, basically like a see-through bird. I'm going to throw out waffles because I already said it. These are just waffles in the clouds, and their main thing is that they're funny.
Yeah.
What's something like that? Giant waffles that you talk to.
Next thing in the clouds is the cloud like big slide they got to go down, that's made of clouds that'll lift them up.
So we hit a second irrelevant one. Let's hit another relevant one, Anna.
Um, I think my thought was almost my thought was some sort of upside down cloud situation or fairy. Like there's a school or something where fairies are practicing their magic, and so are these tooth fairies actually? I don't know. Maybe that will be relevant. But like where everyone has to be upside down or practicing upside down.
Anna, you keep on doing this. How are we doing that in improv? I'm with it, but how? Just for the audience.
I don't know. This is the question of how are the bats in the bat cave upside down? I don't think they're.
Well, I think we just need one person who's not upside down. And that'll probably be Worm, because Worm is probably comic relief. And Worm is like a physically like able improviser who is like on a chair or something and positioned upside down while the rest of the people are doing the scene normally.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So initially, actually, both of them should enter upside down. Everyone else is right side up. And then they should be like, why are you upside down? And then the bat, who's used to going upside down, fits into this world.
Yeah.
And Worm is like, what the heck? And Worm is played by Will.
Yeah.
Who can hold a handstand or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, I think so in that sense, like I guess this would be a test that Wilk successfully passes. Yeah.
But like emotionally, what's going on here? They feel like they fit in for the first time, or
I think they feel like more of a vampire than they realize, right? Like they taught this focusing trick they learned since they were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like nothing. They didn't even think about it. It was just like so obvious to them. And so now they're suddenly realizing like they know things that these fairies don't. And so they are sort of they're more of a vampire than they realize,
That's why Anna's so good at narrative. Do you see it, Julian? Do you see that?
Yeah.
We're learning to be a vampire over the course of the story. And that's something that you might register in your head at some point in an improv show. And that's not planning. That's like, oh, I get it now. So when I'm spontaneously coming up with stuff, it's going to fit into the learning to be a vampire. That's awesome.
But it always was.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't know it yet.
Okay. Now it's chase. It's chase mode. We've hit 2 steps ahead. So villain who's chasing after them interacts with the builder fairies, and because we're learning to be a vampire. This can't be like I kill you villain. This has to be a little more like Nemo's dad. But I guess that's not a villain. But you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they should probably spook them and be antagonistic.
Maybe even fight them or freeze them or do some sort of vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, at some point we got to cut back to them asking the queen where did they go?
Yeah.
I need my suit. Focus. Okay, Okay, so they learn where they went from the queen school. But what caused them to leave the school, especially if they're happy there?
Wait, you're saying the bats?
The good guys.
Oh.
Looks and
Go ahead, Anna.
Oh, I didn't have a specific thought.
Maybe Worm.
Yeah, I was thinking that like Worm clearly doesn't fit in.
Yeah, Worm doesn't want to be there. And Worm kind of has a goal, right, to get to Sunny Top.
And this could be a moment of separation. Like maybe Worm is like, come on, we got to go before some bad thing that's going to happen, like a temperature change or like another storm or something. And Wilkes chooses to stay. I feel like this is a good split the moment because Wilkes has had 2 positive tests. I feel like they need to have a negative test and maybe hit one on their own and then reunite and then hit the beach or the cloud beach, whatever.
And then partay.
So Worm leaves threatening. Can someone give me what Worm is threatening is coming? Like it could be like the big flock of birds flies through and goes, wah, or like what, it could be the storm. We already had a storm though. So like what's another thing? Like
can
the airplane
bird or can Worm just be saying not that something bad's gonna happen, but like the volleyball tournament is gonna happen, in like 2 hours or something, and like we got to get going for this like positive thing.
The reason I was hitting a negative thing was because that will force the other character to leave. The person's not listening to Worm's advice, and that'll kind of set them up for a negative task, if that makes sense.
Oh, it should bite Wilkes is your concept.
Yeah, I think Wilkes has been rolling too high and needs to have some sort of like baby ordeal kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what it is. Like it could be like the planes are going to fly through, or the winged hippopotamuses, or at night the fairies all turn into something bad.
I was going to say something happens at night because that's when the sun is gone, and I don't know.
Maybe they just all leave.
I was almost going to say like maybe the whole thing just not leave, like just disappears and then reappears.
Oh, cool. I'm with it. All right, so the bird's like, come on, we got to get out of here. And the Wilk's like, no, I want to stay. Bird leaves. And then all of a sudden the fairies start to fade. And Wilk's like, what's going on? Oh, we vanish at the night. You didn't know that? It's going to get awful cold in here. And then we cut back to the dad in the palace being like, or not the dad, the villain. Where is the Wilkes? And the fairies like slowly vanishing.
I remember it.
Okay.
Wait, maybe this is too much. But why do the slip for like saying dad instead of the villain? It almost feels like it'd be more emotionally present if like the person pursuing was the parent because of the first scene, much. Yeah.
Let's merge it. So dad is the counselor, or whoever it was.
Yeah. But dad is still kind of a quote unquote villain because they like are a vampire who probably like kills people and sucks people's blood and like is trying to teach Wilkes to operate in a villainous way.
Mm-hmm.
What's dad's worldview?
The vampires are a prosperous society because we are, cunning and focused and willing to do what needs to be done.
Sick.
Okay.
And so Wilkes is alone in the clouds, no fairies.
And the freezing cold is setting in.
Freezing cold, which I don't know if physiologically, well, sure. Physiologically, it totally can hurt Wilkes.
Oh, you're saying his vampires have cold blood?
Yeah, and they're just kind of a cold sort of creature.
Cloud polar bears. I don't know.
It feels like this is the moment where Wilkes is like, I thought I found somewhere I could fit in. I thought this was somewhere that, I could, like, I could be a vampire among the fairies and accepted. But the fairies disappear every night. Like, I'm still alone. There's still nothing here for me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's,
Keep going.
I was almost like, maybe it was better for me to just be alone, but among other vampires. I don't know, like some sort of doubt.
The doubt triggers this sort of prowling villain in me, a micro villain who hears the doubt and has that worldview of like, maybe it's better to be alone. It's like, oh, if you want to be alone, you can come with me. There's the loneliest place in the sky.
Okay, I like that. Like some sort of twisted fallen night fairy.
Yeah, okay. Can it be a fairy that's also some sort of animal?
Sure, that prowls.
What?
That prowls.
The prowls. I just want it to be big. I want it to be a lot larger than Wilkes.
Okay.
It could just be a big, or like have 4 legs. Sorry, this is not. We're way too deep in the episode to be caring about how many legs this character has. Okay, I see that.
So I guess now my question is like at what point should the dad catch up to Wilkes? Like I feel like
near the end, and the dad should probably be in trouble, right? And need Wilkes's, worldview or saving, or need Wilkes to focus, but probably at the beach.
Yeah.
oh, okay. So
Okay,
I mean,
yeah, go.
I don't know how this would work religiously, but like part of me wonders if Wilkes decides to go with the lonely fairy or something. Like maybe a situation where the dad is trying to save Wilkes from that fairy, and Wilkes like goes free and goes to the sunny place, but the dad is now caught back there. We're trying to get to that ordeal situation, or
maybe the dad like sees Wilkes right as they're being taken into the and it's like, wait. And that actually maybe Wilkes is saying like hesitating, like, oh no, I'm actually not going to go with you. And then the dad's like, wait, don't, you don't know what that is. That's and then the dad is kind of like, I can't go into there because that is not taking you to a lonely place. That's taking you to somewhere really, it's going to like eat you or do some,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cloud demon.
Like we're just brushing because we're not really in the place yet. I don't think where we want to have the full on like ordeal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Remind me, why is it important that Wilkes makes it to the sunny top?
I don't think it is necessarily important that Wilkes makes it to the sunny top, but
yeah.
I just think that there like temporally is still one more beat, if that makes sense. Where this shadowy figure it's kind of like a dragon or something, where it's like a big climactic thing, but it's not necessarily the beach. It feels to me almost like the eye of the storm in some way. Of
false sense of security and calm.
Yeah, where you're like, this was not what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
So there still feels like it feels like a useful thing. I don't think we have to hit there, but it does feel like a moment where giving the character what they want is definitely a way to have them learn that isn't what they want.
Yeah, I mean, this could be like the action kind of centerpiece of like Wilkes gets brought to maybe even like swallowed or whatever by this like kind of amorphous cloud creature, and is in like a it could be fun for Wilkes to be in a room with like a bunch of skeletons or something and have a callback to the first scene where Wilkes is like talking to these skeletons as if they were like his toys.
Anna, I think you're right that the dad should save Wilkes here.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you're I think you're right. I was wrong about that, but I think what Julian saying this is what's making me realize is the thing. I didn't want the dad to save Wilkes from going with the creature, and this is the whole ordeal thing, where I wanted Wilkes to choose to go and then to get even more stuck, and then the dad saves, and still I think the beach will come after that. But
whoa, yeah.
Ooh, okay. I'm liking kind of a creepy scene where Wilkes is like playing with these, kind of talking to these skeletons in the like belly, and they like start to talk back. And they're go ahead.
Can they be vampire skeletons?
Yeah.
Like can they all be like people who ran away or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Eva. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, and they maybe they're talking about how they didn't fit in, and it's so much easier now to be a skeleton. And it would be fun to have like a moment of the dad like confronting the like overarching beast and Wilkes listening.
Yes, and that's the ears again. Like maybe what?
Go ahead.
Maybe though it's preparing the thing that it uses to eat Wilkes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna okay. Wait, what were you saying, Anna, about overheard?
Well, just the ear thing, right? That Wilkes overhears. So that the thing is like maybe so the dad doesn't know that Wilkes is hearing it, is what I'm thinking. Like but the dad is expressing that, you know, it's his son. Like he cares about Wilkes, and he just like this is just what he wants for Wilkes, right? And so Wilkes is overhearing something else now, but it's like he's understanding his dad better, I think, and he's understanding the dad's worldview.
That's so good, because earlier we heard them like being like, we're worried about Wilkes, and that's
Right.
why Wilkes ran away, is because he's feeling unloved by the parents, and now overhearing like all of this love. Oh, that's so good, so good, so good, so good, so good. See, that feels almost like a Tesuji, where it's like,
no, I'm being more convinced. Yeah, go.
You just had like they're easier to find when you're with a group. You know what I mean? And there might be multiple Tesujis, but like of these kind of like, oh, that's so good. That's so good. Oh, okay, well, that is so good. But now Wilkes overhears, and this is the kind of lowest to highest moment. So like if the skeletons, like maybe Wilkes gives up and is like ready to become a skeleton, and then like, so the eye of the storm is actually listening to this like loving speech by the dad, and then the villain says too late, and starts like to be able to really deal some damage to the dad. You know what I mean? Like the dad is not going to get out of it, and now Wilkes needs to somehow muster some thing to overcome it. And this is the pull yourself out of the ordeal moment where magically a divine ray of light comes in, and we know Wilkes has learned something on the way that is gonna get you out of this journey.
Yeah. So this is the ordeal. This is
I'm with it now, because we're pressed for time. You would have had more test allies and enemies, and it's hard to do an ordeal without having all that, because you've had less time to learn along the way to pull yourself up. But I will say, we said dominoes at the beginning of the show, and there are a whole lot of bones in here.
True. I think at some point Wilkes is going to have to become a bat as part of it, because it seems like part of the story is like learning to accept being a vampire, while also, embracing their own newness. So part of it will probably be becoming a bat.
I agree with that. I think the dominoes thing is actually, so I think it's part of it is becoming a bat and flying in and fighting and just being bold and not having an idea, and then getting, pinned down or something, and being able to just sort of like knock one little thing and have the whole skeletal.
Be able to focus on the like minor detail, probably.
I think it'd be cool if this cloud monster it's just cloud. Like it's just made of cloud and the bones of those who gave their loneliness and who gave into their loneliness. And so all it takes is just maybe knocking like the fang of a vampire, the rib of a vampire, just knocking one of them. And the whole monster just falls apart. Maybe.
Yeah. It's got one little heart thing that's keeping it all alive.
Yeah, something like that.
That needs to be dislodged.
I think just something that causes the domino effect, that just like the whole thing just like falls apart. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, and we could, we can maintain that there's like some degree to which the dad doesn't like totally understand Wilkes yet. And we can have the dad be like, Wilkes, like focus up, like the fist of the beast is coming right at you. But Wilkes is now like benefiting from the ability to not focus on like the most important, and is maybe like peering through the veil to see the domino effect that they have to do to get the heart.
Sweet. And can they work together for a second?
Yeah.
Like I want to see them in tandem doing little bat or like vampire fighting, or whatever, or like flying, like having to fly together.
Yeah.
It'd be really fun to see like the dad fighting in his like I'm a vampire way, and then Wilkes fighting in his very like way. Yeah. I don't know, like two ways of fighting that both work.
Maybe Wilkes has the idea and the dad executes it.
Yeah. Yeah, my wing is damaged after the freaking lightning storm or whatever.
Oh, that's the dad as that, or like the dad. So the dad saying Wilkes should execute it.
Oh well, no, I think Wilkes has.
Oh,
I mean, it could
Wilkes
go
is
either
wing.
way.
Okay.
They're wing damaged, hence being thrust into fairyland.
They both have a wing damage, and they have to each flap one.
Oh,
That's okay.
We go bad.
All right, we get what happens in this scene, even if we haven't perfectly nailed it out. Where there's tension of fighting this thing, involving also talking between the dad. Combat's going on. That's the space object task, and it's like, Dad, I didn't realize you like. Of course I did. I just want to.
Yeah.
All right. The whole thing crumbles. Boom. Domino effect hits the heart. Everything clears. And
we definitely need a moment right now for Wilkes and their father to at least say something to each other out of the heat of it.
Anna, you're the one who's really got the interpersonal, like you're in the scene, you're Wilkes, what, or your dad, whatever, but what happens?
Yeah. I think the key is, I don't know what the conversation between Dad and Wilkes was during the fight, but the key is that Wilkes understands that his dad everything his dad was saying before was out of love. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that Wilkes and his dad think alike about what a vampire should be or what a vampire is. So, and I'm almost, I don't know, there's definitely there's a version of this where like they have a conversation and it's like, this is what a vampire, like Dad, this is what I think a vampire is, or I am a vampire, mm-hmm. These things also make me a vampire, and his dad agrees, and then they go back to vampire world. Mm-hmm. But there's also a world in which like Wilkes now understands that his dad he understands that worldviews are different, but he still loves his dad, and so that is not really a problem. But maybe he chooses to stay in the fairy land and be with be the queen's assistant or something. Or,
is there anything the dad could do to prove that they're willing to, like, that's outside of the dad's comfort zone? That's like, I'm doing this for my kid. I'm learning to accept my kid too.
Good question.
This ties into my main remaining hang up, which is we need to see Worm, and we need to see the like wonderful beachland or whatever. And I think that maybe that my conception of like part of the conversation, at least that would happen between Wilkes and their dad, is like, a plain like, we're different, but like we love each other, and this care like trumps over that, and the dad could be like, okay, like we have to get you back to Vampire World, and Wilkes is like, wait, we need to go to one more place.
I want to see them play volleyball.
And I think that's where we get the dad being like humble grumble, like in party a little.
But maybe actually having fun. I think like having fun.
Yeah, like
having a big cloak on, But
in his own little vampire way.
And then Anna, after we play volleyball, this is the question you were posing, do we actually go back to the vampire world, or do we stay in the fairyland?
Yeah, I think there's a perfect ending. There's not like one that is definitely better than. I think it's just most important that Wilkes still sees his father. Like they still maintain that connection. So if he's in fairyland, he's still visiting his father, right?
Yeah.
Or like if he does go back with his father, having experienced the sunny top, has a warmer, like a more accepting heart of what a vampire could be, and like it's just like they find a compromise.
Yeah. For today, I've chosen. Drown.
I am not a fan of the and ever since that day story spine, but there is a sense of like I do kind of want to see all the vampires playing volleyball in Vampire Land, or like something has changed, and ever since that day, Vampire Land was different for this journey having happened.
Yeah, and I think it can be all of the vampires playing volleyball, and it can be Worm as the ref, or something like that.
Or maybe now the ceremony involves doing a domino effect for Fang. Like that is part of that is the ceremony now.
That feels like a Tesuji. Yeah, but Worm is there too.
Yeah, but Worm is always there.
Yeah, yes. All right, Julian, Time Master. What read us the damage.
Hour 43.
Oh my god.
Bum. Little did you know it, but this is the first 2 hour episode of Muprov Musings.
Yeah, sorry to everyone who wanted a 1 hour episode.
But you should have you knew this more than we did. You can see how long this video or podcast is.
Yeah, you got yourself into it, listener.
Yeah, your fault.
And the funny thing is, we've gotten all the way here. If you're still listening, I kind of want to just treat it like a normal episode, and I still want to hear Anna's like ending. Of
course. Yeah. No. We shouldn't rush the end.
Yeah. Actually, can I do a quick debrief of what we just did?
Yeah.
Thoughts on it? I think it's interesting because like I think what either Julian or Hal said it before we started this, like the dribbling metaphor, or similar. Like this is a skill, like doing a story is fine, but it is still different from practicing narrative while improvising. Like I feel like while doing story spines, I have a lot of difficulty generating like an idea what the next scene could be, like from thin air, just pulling out of my mind texture and just like, especially in the test allies enemies part. But at the same time, it is easier maybe when I'm doing the story spine to think about, oh, this is a really cool connection, like, or metaphorical way in the clouds to think about, the character's growth or like their interpersonal relationships or things like that. So I don't know. I think the generative part is easier when I'm with an ensemble, but maybe with story spine it's easier to think about the relationships and then metaphors and things like that. So it's a skill, but it's not the same skill as interpersonal as actually improvising and doing narrative.
Yeah.
Well, I think that like the transitionary skill is once you have, there were all these points where we're like, okay, this thing kind of needs to happen. It doesn't matter how it happens or what specifically, like the improviser in you is like putting your body into the space and, making some random choices. Like, you're flapping your wings and you're now or whatever, but you're like, I know that whatever I do coming on stage, I need to in some way vibe in the right pattern to sort of fit into what's been happening so far.
Well, this so one of you mentioned this, but I think that the kind of obvious next step to me is to actually after doing this, to do a surgical run, which is, you're actually, doing the improv, because there were moments, right, where we we're like, oh, I don't know how we would do that. So you can layer on some of it by then doing a surgical run where you're still able to take these pauses. And then I think the transition between surgical run and just doing a run is less and less pauses. Mm-hmm. And in a practical sense, I mean, you would probably need a lot of practice to be able to like hit every part of this and have a clean transition from doing this kind of thing to doing a show. But based on how much time you have, that would be the chart, I believe.
Yeah, the point of a surgical run is that afterwards everyone's like, "Oh my god, like that was so complicated. Like there's no," and then suddenly it all pulls together for. It's almost like what a run is to a show, a surgical run is to a run. It just it is ordeal, lowest possible point of surgical run, and then the run goes terribly, and you're like, "Oh, this is also terrible," and then you do it for an audience, and it's awesome, and you're reborn.
I think. For me, it's like practicing until it becomes instinct. Like, I'm not really thinking that hard about narrative during a show, but it is very instinctive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I almost never think about it in the like with my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the more you do this, the easier it'll be, plain and simple, and the quicker you'll be able to do it.
Otherwise, this is the part at the end of the episode where I say whatever I want.
Yeah,
Whatever
you can
you
say
want.
whatever the
Okay.
heck you want.
Unrated.
I definitely had something. Hold on. I think, I don't know, just one, like I've always felt like a student of improv, even though it's been coming up on 2 years. So this has been really cool to talk about improv from the point of like a quote unquote expert. But just thinking through it and talking about it is really, really fun. Yeah, and I think the other thing, as someone who like learned this form of improv first, like long form improv first, I don't know, it's always been like, I think it's just like I never thought that I would do something performance art related, or certainly not improv. I think so, and like I actually came from a background of creative writing and poetry and things like that. So I think for those listeners out there who have never thought about improv as a thing they might ever do in the future, there exists many forms of improv and options for you. So I'm personally really grateful that this is how I learned improv. I'm still eager to learn more short form and do other things and experiment, but I've always said that like if long form didn't exist, I probably would not have gotten into rock at all. So there's a story for you.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Anna.
And that's why, yeah, got to do this kind of stuff because there are so many people like you, I feel like, who are great, like have this insane talent skill set that might not even be showcased in a lot of the improv that exists.
Yeah.
Like there's this whole existence of people who can do insane things that need to be activated.
yeah, the more people doing improv, the better. The better the world, to be honest.
Right. And the more kinds of people, I think. Yeah, it's a delight always to improvise with you, Anna. And it's very strange and different than with normal people. All right. No, none of us are normal.
Amazing. All right. Does anyone have anything else they need to squeeze into this episode?
No.
Oh, thank you. Thank you to Hal and Julian for inviting me. It's been lots of fun.
Thank you for coming on. And that means that this has been Muprov
Musings, said Anna.
Okay, so the funny thing about how this whole 2-part episode thing worked out is that we actually are at 40 minutes, so we have time for a little bit of a longer sign off. But if you notice my voice sounding a little weird, my retainer's already in. I'm going to take it out right now on the pod. It is late at night when we're recording this. Julian is wearing some messed up outfit. He just got back from a thing. I really did not want to be awake. I may have a new concussion for people listening. That is a common thing for me. You may have heard me say that 3 or 4 times. If you're an old friend, you may have heard me say that 7 times. I should not be awake right now, but we got to get the podcast out. And because of that, also, it's possible that next week's podcast is going to be delayed. I've been really trying to not let any of the podcasts get delayed. But we're trying to plan a big special thing. If you tune in next week and there's no podcast, it's our fault. But it's also because I got hit in the head. But whenever you tune into a podcast after this one, it's going to be special. Julian, you got to sign off?
Yeah. Okay. So my sign off is there's some news that I've been waiting to tell you because I wanted to tell you in the sign off form, which is I was accepted to be a director at this theater out here. And so I'm going to be directing Hero's Journey, which epic. Is, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I just went to this theater company's like slasher show that they're doing right now. That's what I came from.
Was it good? Oh, well, I guess you can't say. I won't ask that. I'll retract my question.
It was very entertaining. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
awesome. I'll say that. Yeah.
I also, just to keep pace with you as my rival, this is still a little bit up in the air, but I am sometime in February going to be putting on a musical show with some people that I met here in a theater that has, agreed to give us a date, and we have to sell a certain amount of tickets in order to be able to get another show after that. But I'm cooking.
That's so fun.
Yeah, so both of us have some improv cooking in our life. Do you get to cast your show?
Mm-hmm. Auditions are in a couple weeks,
and it's just you.
I make like the final decision. I think there's a couple of producers.
Sweet.
Because they know like each other from the scene, so I'll probably rely on them to some degree.
But that's pretty epic. Rising. I mean, I still think that it's possible that Ann Arbor is a better place to be than New York.
The whole pond concept.
But also just because so many of the power players in New York are like really, really good at doing comedy improv and have that, like, the machine. We can make these really funny scenes, and like I don't think they're interested in the narrative, which is crazy. I still haven't found even just a show in New York that I can go to that's a narrative show besides that's not a musical.
What about like Shakespeare? People do Shakespeare?
I mean, I think people like tour New York who are doing narrative shows, but and I'm sure there are people who are doing it, but I am looking for it, and I'm asking a lot of people, and it's still taking me a little while to find it. But we're in sign off Palooza. So I started last time, part one, it was me starting to take a class. I started to take a fantastic class. And this one I'll be super open about. It's at the Pit. It is a dramatic improv class. And it's elective, so I didn't need to take all the like run up. But the first class was great. There were 2 exercises. I'm not sure whether do you think it's okay to talk about like teachers exercise?
The beans? Yeah, I feel like you're kind of spilling the beans. Maybe it's best practice not to. If it's something you paid for.
She cooked like they were home cooked exercises. You know what I mean? It wasn't just and I won't spill the beans maybe to the world. I'm certainly gonna I'll spill some beans on you, Julian, at some point.
Okay.
I don't know. It made me excited.
Well, I'll check them out. That's interesting.
It's the first time. Yeah, we go.
This is me asking if I can ask you a question about one of your earlier sign-offs.
Okay, you can ask.
What is this little scheme you had where you have to sell enough tickets? What are you indebted to? Like that sounds like such like a summer something a bunch of kids would have to do over the summer.
No. I'm not like selling. No. The idea is it's a residency thing where you put on a show at this theater.
Okay.
And the idea is if you put on a show at this theater and no one attends the show at this theater, they will not ask you to put on another show at the theater.
Okay. But so do they publicize, or is it like
you and they both publicize?
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know how that'll actually work. Hopefully people will come.
Yeah.
If they don't, like, worst case scenario, it's nice to have a goalpost to be shooting for. But I've got a lot of stuff cooking, despite the fact that my brain is exploded. All right, well, back ball in your court. Are the people you saw in the slasher movie the people who are going to be in your hero's journey? You think?
So I've talked to one of the cast members who's in the It's a Scream show right now, and she says that she's not going to audition for Hero's Journey, but that maybe some of the other people will audition for Hero's Journey.
Is it gender balanced?
Yes, or rather, it's the troupe is 4 women and 1 man.
Yeah. So that's what you want. That's what it's
whatever the whether that's gender balance or not, let's leave it to the judge. But no, that's what it is.
That's fun. That's promising. That's so you're really, really excited about that.
Yeah. I've got to it's so helpful that we've been going through Hero's Journey, because now I'm going to actually have to teach it to people. But I think it'll grow me, and I'll also maybe edit the format to some, depending on the needs and skills of the people in this area. it's possible that this hero's journey ends up being like maybe a slightly goofier hero's journey, or like I would ideally want it to be kind of the same level of hero's journey, but who knows what'll happen.
Yeah.
I'm not used to the improv out here and what skill sets they have. So
are you gonna make them listen to the podcast?
I was thinking about that.
Julian, you could double our listenership.
Yeah, maybe.
That's what professors do.
It is what it is. Yeah, literally a professor thing to do. It's a little bit troll. It's troll because I'll probably be the youngest person.
That's okay.
Yeah, okay. It's just it's scary being young.
No. Being young is awesome because that's the other thing I love about listening to this podcast. I'm like, sure, there are a lot of people out there who have done a lot more improv than whatever, but they always talk about starting when they're like, my current age or something like that. And there's one of the people in the group who started when she was 18. I was like, okay, whatever. But it's good. You got to get your
you just get in there, get in quick.
Because you didn't really used to be able to start improv young because it was such a young art form that. And we still like. I don't know anyone who started improv when they were like 4. I guess Kaylin kind of did.
I mean, but yeah, it's a very rare thing to happen.
But
that just means in the future there might be some crazy improv.
That's what I'm saying. I do.
Little kids are doing improv right now.
I mean, I'm teaching preschool right now, but if I could get set up in some situation like what Kaylin's mom does, where I got access to some pool of kids from. This is gonna sound bad. I'm gonna back out of this statement.
Yeah,
you know where it's going. That would be.
Will is teaching kids too.
Yeah. But it's the consistency.
You want to build a kid troupe is your concept.
Yeah, it's just that they could go so much farther than where I have left to run.
You really are like the wise old mentor wanting to bestow it upon the next generation.
Yeah, but it's no. Have you figured out that you're a baby yet?
Figured out that I'm a baby yet.
Entering from being the oldest person to now, most of the people around you are significantly older than you.
Oh, yeah. Well, and have I figured out that that's true yet, or
like?
I figured that out. Yeah.
But like, what do you do with that?
Yeah, what do I do with that? I don't know. Well, like in the PhD program, are you talking about, or just in the improv?
Just in life. Like I'll be talking to someone, we're having a conversation, and then they're 35 or 40.
Here's the thing. I'm still in a pretty school environment. So a lot of the people that I talk to and whatnot are students at the university who are of similar age to me. But the improv community is definitely a lot more diverse in terms of ages, and also professors, I guess, I've been hanging out with. Or I don't know about hanging out,
Well, I find it totally ridiculous, even the fact that we have a podcast at our baby age or whatever.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to look back on this and be like, oh my God.
Yeah, we were so bad and cringe because we're doing me so much better.
Yeah. But that was part of what was fun about hearing the podcast of the people who've been doing it for 18 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they talk about, they're like, yeah, back in the day, we used to like practice like all the time. And now we've mellowed out a lot and we just are doing our lives.
Yeah.
You taking out a bottle of pills?
Oh, well, this is actually liquid latex that has attached the balls to my head.
Oh, I see.
But then this right here are Jolly Ranchers, which are meant to represent Walter White's blue sky methamphetamine that he produces on the show Breaking Bad.
The audio listeners do not know that you're dressed as Walter White.
I'm dressed as Walter White, bald cap, goatee, and all. But I didn't win the costume contest.
Really?
There were some really good costumes.
I see. Anything like, multi-headed or like, that kind, like with puppets and stuff?
It was in a puppet theater, but the most interesting one was a pair who went up as Medusa and a stone, and they kept on, whenever they would go up, they would do a little thing where the stone gets frozen, and it's like a husband and wife, and so I don't know. I think that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And there was a really good Nosferatu, who was very, very embodying the physicality in a great way.
Okay, I think we've fleshed this episode out to the full hour. Like,
Yeah, and here this is a glimpse into the us of us, because this isn't it's the improv, but it's
yeah. Do you have any more sign offs to add to sign off soup? I assume most people just turn the episode off.
yeah, this is like the rolling credits, and it's like, but sign off soup. Oh, okay. Final sign off. Tomorrow I'm going to Frankenmuth, which is a Bavarian style town here in Michigan. So it's like pretend German. It's like, how like in San Francisco, for example, there's like Chinatown, right? Well, this is like Bavarian town, or like German town.
All right. Well, I think that's not.
What? What's wrong with that equivalence?
That's not how that works.
I don't know
what do you mean?
No, it's just it's a Bavarian style town.
But it's not like a bunch of Bavarian immigrants came to.
Yeah, you're right. It certainly isn't literally like Chinatown. It's superficially like Chinatown, and it is a town that is themed after a country. But it is, yeah. There are not Bavarian immigrants in Frankenmuth, I don't think. It's more of a tourist kind of concept.
Can't you see me now?
All right, I think that we gotta cut this off before Walter White gets what's coming to him.
Once I put on the cap.
They seem so crazy.
All right.
Thank you for listening.
Can't you see me now? Can't you see me now? See me now. Can't you see me now? Oh, can't you see me now? Can't you see me now? Like you did back then. Can't you see me now? I remember way back when. Oh, and times they are changing. Things are rearranging. Can't you see me now? Can't you see me now? Everything is changing. Can't you see me now? Can't you see me